massive, and you at least have the makings of a double marksman composition here for top esports.
Okay. So 80 carries starting to get hampered away at. We have the Varus in the first phase. We got Ezreal, Ashe. They're going to let through the misfortune. Have to kind of make an assumption here that for FPX, they could be looking towards this. You might be inviting from TES a Leona counter pick there, so maybe there's it's going to be like an Alistar misfortune coming in, which I think is not all that bad when you take a look at what this front line from TES might end up looking like. Just being able to get them away from your carries. And with FPX, you have such potent side laners now. Just having this Gwen and this Yone pair up with the Sejuani, being able to grab grubs might be something that they look towards and might actually end up making this game a lot more difficult for TES.
True. I mean, would you even think that if top esports don't lock in Alistar right here, do you even need to pick the Alistar for yourself? Because that's my concern. If you're top esports, if you don't pick the Alistar, then Jwei can just go for Rel, and that's even a more devastating sync with Misfortune. So they go for the Alistar, that prevents the Rel from coming through, and FPX have to go for something different.
I actually really like the Rakan. It can kind of get underneath the Alistar early, and being able to just follow up with the Battle Dance offers a little bit more with a Yone and a Sejuani, but FPX going for the Nautilus, so it's a pretty standard team fighting. I did say early on for FPX in the season, just keep the draw stupid simple. We do not need to be trying to out-execute our opponents, especially against top esports tonight. I think that wanting to make sure that we have strong lanes. The only issue here is going to come down to the mid lane, and one problem for FPX in the past has been that Care sometimes loses his matchup without Grace, and it makes the game a little bit harder for his squad, so he's going to need to be able to navigate this extremely well, especially against one of the best Tristana mids in the entire league right now. I mean, Creme's Tristana last year was bar none one of his best across the LPL.
Yeah, and the fact that we've returned to a Tristana mid meta has been such a huge boon for this young mid laner who is still trying to make his mark as one of the upcoming next generational talents in the mid lane pool for the LPL. You know, trying to match the history of Xiaohu, the recent success of Knight over the past few years. You know, Creme trying to make sure that he is that next big guy, the next him for LPL. And on the side of FPX, as you said, you don't need to be a chef. You can leave that to the other top teams. You know, anyone's legend tried to cook some stuff with Tabe and Coach. You know, IG back to their shenanigans, try to do some stuff. Sometimes it works. Sometimes, you know, we really wish we could just go next. But, you know, that's IG, baby. That's the experience. But here we are, getting ready for game one between FPX and top esports. Let's hit the rift.
Okay. I mean, this is still a tough matchup when we look at it from TES. They have a pretty good ability to push off of mid. Their skirmishing is going to be very, very strong. Just the amount of range that they'll have, especially with Jhin and this Rumble. And what I'm looking for from TES, play through our solo lanes, find success.
Keep it stupid simple, baby. That's the strategy going forward.
Oh no.
Was there no Gyos for FPX? Oh, wait. Okay.
I think someone thought that they were going to be funny and try to be the chant leader, and so everybody kind of just like left him in silence to maybe slightly publicly shame that guy. But you know, they take that fan culture seriously. You got that's why you got the leaders. They've got the fan cheerleaders to make sure that they're going off in the right areas, that they can kind of bring that morale boost to the teams before the match starts. But
who's the super enthusiastic one? I know there's one that some dude just like goes super ham, and I can't remember which team it is.
I think it might be for Weibo, but I do not know.
Yeah, it might be Weibo, it might be RNG. Yeah, I can't think of
it would be one of the bigger teams in terms of their like social media standing, as well as just whatever. So
true.
Early on, we'll have to see what Kanavi's going to be able to do. Both junglers are heading into the top side here. Kanavi probably not going to look for too much action, but we have been seeing some of our Skarners be a little bit more creative, and maybe I might try to make a wraparound play on Care early.
Pretty volatile lane setup right now in the bottom lane. Want to note that in their last series, FPX, Assume, and Jwei were able to manage to find a all-in level 2 against Alk and On, who, at least in the past, have been one of our best bot lanes in LPL. And, you know, given the fact and the history of BLG being in 2-time LPL champions, was ready to see if Assume and Jwei were going to be able to find it on JackeyLove and Chris, probably our best bottom lane in the entire league, but there's no all-in threat on JackeyLove and Chris. They lose the race to level 2, but they back off and respect the potential for that.
Yep, it's an Alistar, so usually not going to see too much unless it's some lower range champions going on down there. So with what's happening just across the map right now, you are worried here for TES about your solo lanes. Just I know we were kind of talking about Creme just being able to get early priority and also fight against Care early, but I am looking specifically at top lane. With this exhaust Gwen, you're always at threat of her suddenly trying to find a rundown on you. As good job from Creme.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, decent chunk on the Care. Below 300 HP now. One thing that just happened, JackeyLove had used his barrier just to dodge the damage of a Q from Assume. Just wanted to keep his HP high. However, Chris forced to flash away as the Ignite was ticking his health bar down. Now below 200 HP, and Kanavi looking for potentially a cheesy gank here onto Care, but you know, a Skarner E through the wall is pretty predictable to dodge unless he steps right in front of it. Okay, well that's a flash out of Care.
Yeah, we talked about it, the wraparound gank. They're gonna make this dive on a JackeyLove.
No way!
Say goodbye.
Assume, Shadow, and Jwei able to get it done off of the priority they gained, forcing Crisp out of the lane early. That's first blood for FPX.
I'm just really confused as to if you're going to be playing this this Jhin and Alistar, we have to be giving over some amount of the wave to FPX's bottom lane pair. You just, I feel like TS trying to play a little too aggressive, trying to make sure that, see if they can muscle their way in and try to ego their opponents. And that is a huge punish, I think, that the fact that the kill goes over to this Misfortune. It's gold that's going to be missing here for JackeyLove. That's exactly what we wanted to see coming in for FPX.
And to remind people who did not see the FPX BLG series, this is very eerily similar to how Game 1 happened between those two teams. Assume on the Misfortune, getting a ton of kills early on, and then suddenly the game just snowballs and you have a Misfortune that's super accelerated, and FPX get to control a majority of those early objectives. Was it clean for the mid game? No, but eventually they got to being able to end the game. Now Care could be in trouble here. No flash on this Yone, so easy knockup for Creme to lay in the damage with that explosive charge. And even with Shadow here, I just don't think it matters. Creme is able to finish him off.
Yeah, Care, no flash. Good punish coming in from TES, so they're going to move all of their vision into this top side of the river. You can already see that they had gotten the early scuttle and are starting to make their transition over as 30 seconds before the grubs. Early advantage actually coming out for 369, so some of the laning phase woes that I was alluding to coming in, I don't know. I feel like, you know, TS are kind of getting away again with that highway robbery that we talked about from some of their series. We'll see how much they'll be able to make this play as Chris is prepping for a top lane fight, as well as Kanavi making his way over.
No level 6s for anyone here other than 369. Equalizer right on top of Jwei, knowing that his flash is off cooldown, but he's able to dredge line back to safety, and Shadow is here for support.
Oh no. Well, I don't think we're contesting grubs, and that's a big win condition. We were talking about this for FPX. No grubs for a team with Gwen and Yone on sides. It's going to make it a little difficult for FPX to really push and pull TS across the map, but maybe Shadow can try to muscle on through. I just think it's, like, if he jumps over, right, you're getting one, your supporter's nowhere near the area, and with an Alistar, you can actually just throw the Sejuani back over. Care can almost never connect into this play. TS, they're going to willfully give this up just because Kanavi has camps, but I still think it's a pretty big win here for Top Esports.
Yeah. You know, the one thing that they avoided in the sequence that happened against BLG, Bin on the Rumble died. 369 didn't. However, Shadow's going to continue the pressure on the Kanavi and say, hey, you want this Gromp? Well, I'm going to make it uncomfortable for you. However, his mid laner doesn't have first move. Creme is there first, and it's a flash impale with 369 coming over the top. Care tries to finish the job with a Fate Seal, but kind of whiffs. And now the rest of FPX have to run away as Creme is ramped up on the lethal tempo, looking for a Zoom. And this misfortune that had a potential to get accelerated is not going to happen. The same story is not going to be the case for Top Esports this time around.
And now they just lose summoner spells for this. I mean, those are 3 kills going over to the Tristana. She is going to be a menace in this game here. We're at 7.5 minutes. She has a BF sword, also has the call that she's already started to stack. Creme should be able to take over this game. That buster shot plus the jump is going to make it incredibly difficult for FPX to ever find him. Even gets the buffer, but all of this CC coming in from Shadow and Jwei, there's no damage. Awesome just got here, and Care is incredibly late to this fight, so I feel like FPX playing a little too far up, playing a little too disrespectfully of their opponents, and end up getting punished. A great collapse coming in from Top Esports.
Right, and you know, for what it's worth, FPX have been playing a lot faster in recent series, which has been such an exciting change. But you don't have level 6 on this misfortune, so she doesn't have the same amount of power that you might imagine that setup could have been. They were all in that choke point, but FPX just being, like you said, super disrespectful of Top Esports, and now we're at a point in the game where they have a 1,000 gold advantage, 2-1 on grubs, and even though in most lanes it's still okay, you're looking at Creme, who is just a few hundred gold away from being able to get a Yuntal arrows before 10 minutes.
Good equalizer coming out from 369 just to prevent the dive, even with his jungler on this side of the map. Will mean that FPX should have priority over this dragon. And there we go. 850 is when Creme gets Yuntal Wild Arrows. Massive spike, I think, even with it being more of a scaling item after a little bit, just having access to more crit. And this is a huge item coming in for TES. The fact that now that one of their 80 carries already has a completed first legendary is a pretty big shift in terms of power, and they have that feat of warfare coming on through as well. So minute and a half before the grubs, we'll see how much more Creme can get from this side lane, especially with a buster shot. He turns into kind of a 1v1 god.
Yeah.
And this is one of historically Creme's best champions outside of more of those melee assassins. So good of him to show off here into the Yone matchup.
And Creme really has to just be slightly careful for the next couple of minutes while his flash is still off cooldown, thanks to using it to dodge Care's ultimate in the jungle fight. Once it's back up, there's no one that can really safely 1v1 this guy. In fact, I don't even think there's anyone that can really 1v1 right now, but he just always has to be careful in case, you know, Shadow or a support shows up. Kanavi just looking for a straight up impale, and unfortunately, Jwei, the dredge line doesn't buffer you out of a suppression field like that. Creme gets an easy kill for a reset, should have another buster jump as Care misses the Fate Sealed. Now has the flash on top of Creme, but it should be enough. FPX fully commit for the kill onto Tristana, and they get it done.
But they give the shutdown over to Care, that was to Shadow. Both of the summoner spells coming out from Care, as well as the flash from Awesome. Can TES actually contest for this? I mean, Creme will have teleport. I think you've now given over multiple grubs to TES.
Oh, Shadow buffering through Chris' headbutt with his own Arctic Assault. Actually kind of punks him, and JackeyLove is on 4th bullet, but can't step up to threaten. FPX should be able to clear the minion wave in mid and guarantee priority for FPX. Are they just going to get all 3 grubs? Maybe. Kanavi can try to smite one away, but now it's down to the last one. Shadow doesn't have smite anymore, but Kanavi doesn't feel safe enough to walk up. He should just be able to go in there.
Okay,
Come on,
JackeyLove is walking over. Oh my god, he steals it with Q!
Who needs smite, baby? It's just a rock.
I thought Talia was banned this series, you know? We're just throwing rocks and that's gone. So TES, they're able to split the grubs. They're going to try and see if they can make a play with Crisp in the area, but FPX are reinforcing.
Oh, God.
This is Jin at least getting another wave in mid lane. You can just see, this is why I feel TES are our most aggressive team by far in the league. And I think it's reflective a little bit in their stats of 60% first blood rate, 75% first turret rate in games. They are just, they have the shortest game of the split as well as the longest game of the split, speaking a little bit to their inconsistencies as well.
Top Esports just continuing to show how the pressure game can be played at the highest level. Now, as you said, not always consistently being able to show it in every single game we've seen in Split 2 so far, but ever since they've been able to find that huge level up through the lower run in Split 1 playoffs, this has been the form that they have been, at least domestically, been able to continuously show and become signature for. It has made them such an exciting team to watch in the league. Even if there's some stumbles and some frustrating head-smashing through wall moments that we see every now and then.
Yeah, but, you know, look, they're winning, and there's a very high likelihood that this might be our #1 team going into playoffs, so we'll see as this game does develop. Creme looking to continue to push the advantage here as they're playing fully towards this guy in the mid lane. So take another turret for him, use that explosive charge. I really don't think there's another. This is just a Heartsteel proc coming in for Kanavi if he can grab it. And this is going to be another plate, another 2 plates falling here for Creme. So a lot of gold into this Tristana.
Yeah, we already thought that this Tristana was going to be accelerated off the 1000 with the early Yuntal purchase. Nah, now this is going to be what I imagine either an Infinity Edge second, or if he feels really bold, Collector. But I imagine that's probably not the case. You do need to start building, scaling crit damage, and you need to get a Last Whisper out there for this very beefy Sejuani, since she does have a majority of the gold on FPX's side. But that is first brick awarded to Top Esports as Kanavi, little drive-by, not really going for anything, just trying to spook FPX.
Now, TES have put themselves, I think, in a little bit of a weird spot because it is just Creme by himself who has this advantage. He has the entirety of the gold lead, and while he was in topside doing all of this damage and getting themselves the first turret, which does give them feats of strength, FPX cares by himself hitting on a wave. That's gold that wasn't able to be picked up by TES. Now they're going to hope to be able to move him down. He'll take control or even move into this jungle pit or dragon pit on the bottom side and try to meet up with his team. But FPX, they're already going to be done with this objective. So every time that Creme isn't here, TES are a little bit behind. You look at the gold leads individually, and most of them are going in favor of FPX.
A lot of the bot lane advantages that Assume and Jwei were able to get still maintained, even in the woes of that top jungle fight that we saw around the first grub rotation, right? But if Top Esports can continue to play through Creme and overloading a majority of their members through whatever side of the map Creme is on, then you just want to play the turret destruction game. Just try to get as much gold injected to you as fast as possible. Get towards that third dragon fight where hopefully majority of your team is accelerated thanks to all of the global gold that is being given to you. That should hopefully... What's up?
Look, he has Infinity Edge at 15 minutes!
I told you, my goodness. 2 items at 15 minutes, baby. Let's go.
He literally can just... Look, that's all they're doing. They're just escorting him to turrets.
Now, Chris was forced to pop the ultimate here, but Shadow, is he in trouble? That's a lot of damage. Look at Creme already pumping, but he gets it... Oh, no, Creme! He got interrupted middle of the jump, and all that gold lead just feels like it was for nothing in that fight.
Man. Care does teleport out, so he is going to be here to catch this wave. They're going to continue to put... No one's going to catch this bottom lane wave? What's going on here? At least Kanavi, I know you have topside camps, and maybe you want to try to contest for early Herald, but you're just never making a play. You do still have this teleport coming in from Creme. Care has to make the outplay of a sentry to escape.
Fate Seal clips Kanavi on the back end so he doesn't get the full travel distance. This guy is dead to rights, and JackeyLove just might be able to pick up the recipient kill credit. And so just like that, maybe the sins of Top Esports are once again rectified.
Kanavi's going to push. Their bottom lane pair is not going to be here, though. I mean, Crisp is just now recalling. JackeyLove only just now channeled it, so they're going to at least be 15 to 20 seconds late. FPX get themselves the first 2 dragons of this game. They split grubs, as well as even getting the Herald. We get to take a look again at how they're able to cancel the buffer. Usually Tristana is able to get out of almost every piece of CC in the game. And we thought how great this setup was. It's right here. How exactly does this land?
It's Death Charge.
It's the... Oh, Creme, no! I mean, that was a lot of summoner spells used by FPX, but They even got themselves the Herald for it. I think you're not too mad about grabbing that shutdown onto Creme.
Yeah, for what it's worth, like, Creme dodges a majority of all the abilities he needs to get away from, sidestepping the dredge line. Chris, do you have help? I mean, I guess Creme is here, but
this is
Chris
a wonderful
might be...
time to show this this graphic, by the way. Oh my god, wait, Mako has almost 10,000? Oh my god, Creme!
Hang on. All right, you know, Creme this time doesn't get stunned up by anything, so he's able to just lay down the pain on this 2-item Tristana and really show us why top esports have such a big advantage.
Just beautiful operations going over by the observing crew on LPL. I'm glad that we got the Chris graphic. They got both the support, so worthwhile trade. I think minorly, obviously, in favor of Creme. As
good flash.
Does have to use his flash. Okay.
He has put a lot of damage into Care's health bar right now. Already below 50% HP, doesn't have TP anymore, so he cannot save this turret from going down. So it should be T1 on this bot side, opened up for top esports. I'll give them continuous push into this bottom side jungle, and just in time as the third dragon of the game is spawning in a minute.
But they still need to be able to reset and spend their gold here. I know that Creme has been out on the map for not all that much amount of time, so it might be able to also go for another wave. You can see that JackeyLove right now, he has to stay by himself while Crisp and Kanavi, again, just escorting mid. Usually we see this with things like Azir and mages, just so that they can get into side lane and they can grab their gold, but we'll see. What does Creme have in inventory here? Because Yuntao completed, Infinity Edge done at 15 minutes. He's close to an LDR already, so I don't even think he needed, I'll be honest, I don't think you need an LDR this game. You see what the enemy team has, they have a lot of HP, but not a ton of resistances. I think you should be going for either a Flicker Blades, or you can be going for things like the Collector. I think they're very reasonable in this game. Flicker Blades makes it so that Tristana basically has permanent uptime on her Q and can always jump around with her W, so... Small things to think about, but they're already in the map. They're on the map and they're in position around this dragon. FPX have to walk straight into Fog of War, which is a little worrisome.
Yeah, I guess Creme just doesn't want to take any chances of not having the ability to just shred through Shadow and Jwei. Already some poke from FPX as they stall top esports on their way entering through the jungle. 369 immediately TPing in. This Rift Herald cannot be used to charge, otherwise it would put Jwei in a compromised position here. Top esports gonna brute force their way back into the river. Crisp and Kanavi taking the front. 369 left with soloing out the Rift Herald, but now the engage from Jwei. Death charge right onto JackeyLove. Care is looking for the flank as well, but turns right into the front line. Big curtain call damage could be big for JackeyLove as he's just firing bullets one after another into the front line. Assume is still healthy, but Shadow and Jwei are chunked. And it should be enough for top esports to feel at least confident about taking this dragon, but they are more worried about the T1 turret going in the mid lane. Good call by FPX. Glacial Prison U stuns up JackeyLove, but the Deadly Flourish still connects on the Shadow. Here comes the teleport. Crisp is super low, finds nothing with that. Pulverize as he tries to flash away, but it goes down. 369 in the middle of 05. FPX are winning the fight from top esports. They mind controlled them away for the dragon, but I don't think they're healthy enough to take it either.
This is just so mind-boggling coming in from TES. Like, we're jockeying for position, just take the dragon. And I like the call from FPX saying, look, we got the first two dragons. Let's just sacrifice this, get ourselves the mid-tier 1. We even used our Herald for it. They're going to use their soul lanes and their 80 carry to muscle on in. Now it is Shadow and Jwei coming on through. And there are some ultimates that I'm looking at that coming in for FPX. Sheer and Care still having those big ult buttons. I think it's impossible. TS are now wasting time on the map, not pushing any of their waves. We're at soul point at 21 minutes, and FPX, despite the 4,000 gold lead individually for Creme, are falling in this game. Pray to FPX.
Is it happening, Alk? I mean, FPX...
Please no. Please no, dude.
Now, overall, gold lead is in... technically top esports favor because, as you called it, the overwhelming individual goal lead in Creme. But everyone else on FPX is slightly above. And if Creme doesn't get a chance to hit, then that advantage doesn't mean jack squat. As, oh no, the Observer's gonna do Crisp dirty! That's just foul.
Well, he did himself dirty by getting into that spot.
It's valid. It's valid.
Okay, Otacon's already gone. FPX in the area. Teleport from Care.
Crisp already hex flashing forward. Shadow goes in. JackeyLove secures the Otacon, but now it's all about the roses. How many can you pick up for yourself? Make a bouquet. Kanavi trying to pull them forward, but FPX are brute forcing their way through the front line. Good night, Alistar. Good night, Skarner. And good night, Creme. FunPlus Phoenix don't give a damn about the Tristana advantage, and now they're looking to corral JackeyLove at 3-6-9. JackeyLove under tower against all 5 members of FPX. Can't even find a trade kill back. Flashes away. The one bullet at least gets one back, but it's an overwhelming fight win for FPX.
Well, guess what? FPX, they'll get some of those blood roses. They'll get a bottom lane tier 1 and some summoner spells out from TES. TES feel desperate in this game, trying to go for objectives, trying to sneak them and force them around the map. And Rafa, we have a possibility of FPX continuing their surprise run, continuing their surge here in 2025, where this roster was not thought to make deep runs here in domestic play. I mean, we look back at this, 369 is already chunked out. Creme is not hitting anybody. What are we doing? Why are we playing Tristana with getting extra range? You almost have 750 range at level 13, and we are not hitting anybody. What is the point of this champion? Why have we escorted you? Why have we given you so much gold? A lot of questions here and absolutely no answers coming out from top esports.
Dude, look at the FPX coaching staff. They are
Let's go, Changs.
Ecstatic that this is happening. When it happened against JDG, it was a shock. But then we figured, okay, you know what? One day FPX shows up, no big deal. Then they show up against BLG 2-1. Then we think to ourselves, okay, you know what? But maybe that's just because BLG are slipping right now. You know, they're going through some torrential turmoil. But if FPX put a game on top of top esports after the last time they played against them earlier in the split where they got straight up dunked, I don't know what to say. FPX just might be the real deal.
Yeah, we're seeing this now. Shadow might be caught.
Bullet time right only onto Kanavi, but he's losing health bars fast. Curtain call alongside Equalizer.
Okay!
But has found JackeyLove. He interrupts the curtain call, but that's it. Jwei still falls, and FPX are forced to retreat.
All right, so not much else on the map. It's 40 seconds before the Baron. But Rafa, I'm looking at that top right of our screen. I'm looking at the bottom side of the map, 1:30 before an Ocean Soul. We take a look at how this fight started in the picture-in-picture because we were in the replay. It was an all-in attempt from Creme onto Sheer. I think at that point, maybe FPX needed to cut their losses. The gold has started to equalize despite the advantage. And this was, I think, some of the questions that we had coming out of draft. You had a Gwen going into the Rumble. Eventually, this matchup gets a lot easier for Gwen to play. Even this mid lane matchup, it feels like this Yone has a lot more explosive playmaking potential alongside having a Nautilus, alongside having a Sejuani, and it's all for the setup of having these wombo combos. Whereas TES, they try to play fast, they've been trying to play really aggressive, but they haven't been able to punish it or end up giving this game potentially over to the FunPlus Phoenix.
And with all this in mind, the overall advantage in gold is pretty much dead even. Creme still has at least a solid item and a half over Care, but Care is getting his job done. He is interrupting backline. He is threatening them. He's trying to force them to pop summoner spells. And the rest of his team can carry with the damage since Sheer is so fed on this Gwen. Assume is still reliably pumping out damage with the bullet time. And everyone else on FPX doing their job on the front line as we get ready for this 4th dragon. Glacial Prison.
Ultimate doesn't land. Care goes into the Fate Unsealed. Oh, wait, what's going on?
Okay, he flashed in the wall trying to interrupt JackeyLove with the death charge, but it just doesn't do anything. And Assume is compromised. Care is forced to retreat. And just like that, maybe the FPX dream is about to die. Top Esports finally find their cleanest fight of the game, and no one drops from their side.
What is going on? The fight, the setup there just looked incredibly sloppy. It will be a dragon going over, and maybe even that Baron. We said with double marksman, it's potentially a lot easier for them to go. You see the pinks coming on out. FPX may have just botched their one chance at being able to take this game versus top esports. Care's just going to have to watch. I mean, there's just no time for FPX to come on through and steal this.
Yeah. We'll take a look at the replay once again. It starts with this Glacial Prison whiffing, pretty much all the frontline engage tools not really being all that.
Jwei, I'm feeling really bad, and the Skarner Impale finds awesome. This is as good of a fight as it has ever been for top esports. So, Dragon, 3 kills, or 4 kills, plus even grabbing the Baron. Think you are okay with the state of the game. Now, how do they use it? 2.5 minutes with this buff. You're going to have Creme teleporting back in mid. Can they take and raise so many of these structures, especially with Creme now having 4 items, LDR plus the Navori Flicker Blades? This Tristana should be unkillable.
We've definitely said that before, and somehow FPX have surprised us. Top Esports have also disappointed, but at this stage in the game, Top Esports have the advantage pretty confidently on their side. They need to continue denying these Ocean Dragons away from FPX whenever they come off cooldown until they get to the point of the game where one fight is all they need to close out the game and walk through multiple turrets in their way.
Teamfight still is possible here for FPX if they can find it. You have so much set up. Again, the explosiveness of this team composition to just kind of find a fight randomly. Maybe they make a play on this top side. You see that TES. They'll take control of mid, and then they'll move in, let just Creme raise these turrets with this Tristana. Level 16, so he should have close to 700 attack range at this moment from the Draw B passive. They'll get the mid-tier 1, so splitting FPX around the map. This is really dangerous for them, and TS are going to continue to expand this gold lead that they find themselves.
There you go. This is the clean, decisive play that we expect from a top team as the Glacial Prison cleanly buffered by Creme. He's safe. He still has flash. The Impale holds him in place. Kanavi might be forced to give up his life for the greater cause of keeping his carries alive. They turn on to Jwei, locking down JackeyLove, and the bullet time cares there to finish the job. Creme exhausted against Sheer. He goes golden, tries to buy time. Creme can't finish the job either. He has to buster jump away. Top Esports don't lose a lot of members in the fight, but FPX hold their ground.
I just feel like Creme is so scared to fight here. I mean, you know that they don't have spells anymore. Why not just go for the jump in? I feel like Creme needs to pick up something like a Bloodthirster on 5 here if he feels even slightly threatened. I just am very confused because we know that there's no ultimate. So I want to watch this again. There's no Sejuani ultimate. There's no Care ultimate afterwards. What are we doing as Creme? Hit them! We are suppressed. There's no damage. Look at where their supports are. We've now used every single spell from Jwei. We now know that there's the Yone ult down. Creme, we must step up. I don't know why we are unwilling to just hit them.
It looked very eerily similar to the Otacon fight where Kanavi was able to hold them in place and Creme was indecisive of whether he wanted to hit the front line or run for the hills. If you're going to make a decision, just commit. And I think for Top Esports, that is just one of the things that they are experiencing where Creme is very talented in his own right. But just trying to nurture this talent has definitely not been an easy road. But we have high hopes for him as the season continues. Just needs to be able to continue cleaning it up as these games go on. Top Esports still in a favorable position to close out this game. Criticisms aside, Top Esports still should be able to have a hold on this game from FPX.
And it's so exciting when we talk about Creme in general. I mean, him coming over from OMG, being one of the legendary 2023 roster that I feel like he got the best out of the trade, ended up going over to TES, and that is just Jwei going down. Another kill probably going over to Creme. Dragon spawning in 13 seconds. That is not what we wanted to see from FPX, and now we're delaying. It feels like the game continuing to slip away from the Phoenix.
FPX without their support cannot safely walk into the jungle, so as he called it, another Ocean Soul denied from FunPlus Phoenix. They're just going to take whatever gold comes their way through all of these lanes at least what they're trying to do right now is set up some proactive vision on the top side. You can already see there is some deep vision control in that blue side quadrant jungle. Creme going to push out this lane by himself. Everyone basing from top esports, knowing that Creme should be able to do it safely. The next objective is that Baron in a minute's time.
Okay, so we set up here coming into this fight. Creme is probably going to be looking to get as much gold as possible, if not already finishing his next item. You see that BF sword, he probably has a little bit of gold before he's able to grab his last item. And FPX, these items that you see in their inventories, about as strong as they're going to get if they want any chance of closing this game out. Pushing it in top side, utilize your strong mid jungle right now coming in for top esports. And now just place all your vision, force FPX out of this top side. With a Baron on the cards, FPX have to be worried and maybe get a little creative. We've been seeing that Sheer with this exhaust does put a little bit of pressure onto Creme, but we need to be looking away from JackeyLove at this moment and trying to shut down this Tristana.
And with both Flash, Buster Jump, and the ulti as well, it's just so difficult to reliably lock down something as slippery as a Tristana. FPX have been at least able to do it before. Sometimes that rocket jump is not buffered at the right time on Creme's side this game. They have some decent vision control on this Baron pit right now. Top esports now making their way back into this jungle quadrant. And FPX just waiting in the shadows.
But they're losing mid-push from the side of FPX. You saw that TES. They have now 369 who's able to take over if he needs to. Tristana's going to move on through. Oh, the Guardian Angel actually coming through for Creme. So now I hope he really plays with a little bit more reckless abandon. You have an extra life that you're able to play with. And FPX are giving up a lot of gold just to be in flank spots. I don't know if I necessarily agree with this. Shadow's going to move forward.
Trust in your team and trust in your abilities. The Buster Shot buffer through lands right on JackeyLove's forehead, and he is caught because of Creme going through his face. Glacial Prison right on the back. The GA is going to get burned. Awesome. Does he have enough damage to kill Creme off of the respawn here? But here comes Chris, saves the day. But Awesome is still alive. Creme, can he pump the damage over the side? Sheer, but it's a flash from Creme, trusting in his abilities this time around, and he survives.
Awesome almost was able to get around that headbutt. We're definitely getting a replay of that one. Such a close fight coming in here for both of these teams. FPX able to blow up 369 and JackeyLove. Both Creme still alive. He'll teleport back into this play, and Baron should be going over to top esports.
If I'm JackeyLove, I might have some stern words with my mid laner after that fight. As long as top esports win the game, they can maybe have a laugh about it, but just watch this.
Oh, no. Okay, you know what? Happens. However, so I want to watch how Creme plays this next part. And in particular, Crisp did a very good job on the Alistar in the back end of this play. He actually got Awesome out of this. Good flash coming in from Awesome. And then the Buster Shot coming in from Creme forces Awesome away. If that doesn't come through, maybe there's a completely different fight, and we see FPX get that shutdown onto Creme yet again.
But this time for FPX, they now know both of the crucial carries on top esports side don't have any summoner spells. GA was burned, so now Creme sold the GA for Mercurial Scimitar instead. So if he gets rooted or if he gets stunned, he can at least cleanse it, but knockups, he will not be able to survive if the burst is too high.
Ooh, traded out the GA since it went down. Creme now going for a Mercurial Scimitar. I mean, sure, I guess. It's nice to be able to cleanse the only piece of CC, but all right, we'll see if Creme's able to really do much.
That's what I'm
Kanavi
saying.
is so tanky, though.
Oh, but Kanavi doesn't have any of his damage dealers up there. Chris tries to go forward with a punt and the pulverize, forced to pop the ulti. Is there any other engage abilities?
He's not in range.
Oh, but he bleeds them right into the equalizer. 369. Does he save this fight?
Creme!
The bullet time. Sheer on the other side of the wall will still go down. Thankfully for top esports side, they have 2 AD carries, not just one. JackeyLove stepping up to the plate and try to carry this game forward. Do they have enough damage to end the game? Shadow and Care still alive, no ultimates available, and might be enough to force Top Esports away from the base.
All right, inhibitor, but guess what? There's still a dragon on the cards here. FPX, they should be moving over to this play. Maybe a little bit worried that TES might try to go for TPs, but if they're tracking summoner spells, they know that he's not going to be able to go for this. So it's another dragon going the wayside. Triple Ocean Drake here for Top Esports. They're going to have so much sustain, so much regen now going through. And Care, you might have accidentally pushed yourself a little too far in the side lane. Oh my god, he's getting body blocked. Crisp.
Unlucky. Wait, then. Okay. Care had someone behind him. Jwei was there just in case things got a little dicey for FPX's mid laner. The game has definitely extended well beyond what we felt like should have been worth for the side of Top Esports, but there's been a lot of shenanigans in this mid game back and forth between both teams.
I just, like, right here is really tragic. Actually, the Jin Trap slowing Shadow down so he can't get the permafrost. And this equalizer from 369 is doing a lot of work. But this bullet time, man, just... if the current call doesn't come out and find that fourth shot onto Awesome, potentially an Ocean Soul going the way of FPX, but a lot of woulda couldas coming in for the Phoenix. They have been unable to close this game. They've been unable to get that Ocean Soul that they started up so early. And I think some of those stumbling blocks, the fact that they're finding picks, they're not really being as decisive as Top Esports. Top Esports, I think, getting away with more of the same that we've seen from them so far this season, which is they can play a mean early game, they'll mess up in the mid game, and then they're just too far ahead.
And they'll bring it home in the late game. Bullet time is only hitting the front line. This time, JackeyLove and Creme are nowhere near and not affected by the damage output. Curtain Call on the way out. Shadow is going to get tagged by this fourth bullet. Thankfully, he's a tank, so it's only going to damage him to 50% HP. He has some time to go back to the fountain, regen to full, but now it's a 5-on-4 in favor of Top Esports.
And they have a Tristana. Like, he just walks up, throws an explosive charge if his team really wants to. Should be going for top tier, or the top inhibitor turret here. See that TS are a little uncoordinated as they push into the base. I mean, Baron's still here, still up and available in a minute and a half's time. So if they don't feel like they can end, they can always wait. But I think knowing Top Esports, they're going to look for it.
Yep, they have the gold lead, they have the numbers advantage, they've got Shadow rammed into the Nexus itself, Assume, forced to flash away, barrier already popped, Creme, Buster shot right on top of Karen, he rocket jumps away, back to safety, all tunneled onto the Nexus tower, they're looking for kills, great flash by Creme, dodging that Q3 knockup from Care, and just like that, Top Esports, doesn't matter about the mid-game woes, they still clean it up by the end game and take game one.
Dominant fashion in the back end, but too many almost situations there where TES, they almost lose that game. Like, they're on the precipice of giving over Ocean Soul. Creme, despite his comfort on this Tristana champion, maybe just lacking a little bit of that confidence to step forward and right-click the opponents.
Yeah.
Does TES feeling a little uncoordinated throughout all of this match?
I think that's the most understandable criticism, right? You know, it's if you're given this advantage, you got to play like you're him, right? And with all of the blunt criticism aside, it is because we have watched with so much excitement over the past few years this guy being developed on OMG, finally getting a shot, escaping OMG, and playing on a notable team like Top Esports in this, you know, rebuild to go back to being one of the most respected organizations in LPL, one of the top teams in the league. And Creme, obviously, it's a lot of pressure on his shoulders. He's still a relatively young talent compared to everyone else in his role, right? You have, you know, some others like Shanks, who is trying to make a name for himself, much like Creme, but you're playing alongside the likes of Rookie, Xiaohu, and Knight. You know, the Scout even too, you know? But if we want Top Esports to be an actual top team, then you got to play like you got that dog in you. And I think, you know, there's definitely been some games in the past, to be fair, Alk, Creme has played like he's got too much of that dog in him, where he runs it down. You know, so maybe now he's trying to overcorrect and being a little bit more nervous when he was the only person on the team with the advantage and just trying not to fall flat on his face.
A majority of this TES roster has stayed the same, right? Like 369, Creme, and JackeyLove from the last roster of 2024. Last year was kind of the year where it's like, okay, the mistakes of Creme, maybe some of the champion pool issues, that can be excused. It's your first time on a larger team, one where you're expected to potentially make a splash as well. So, that was kind of the excuses there. But here in the second year, you now were able to attend both of the international tournaments of 2024. You were able to play pretty deep runs in playoffs, making spring finals and unfortunately falling in summer. But this is kind of the year where I think Creme really needs to prove himself, and he did that in Split 1, right? We talk about the gauntlet of legendary mids he had to go through just to win Split 1, and we now come into Split 2. We're here in year number 2 of this TES project. I want to see more out of this guy. He has shown those high highs before, but it's that consistency that kind of needles TES across the board and across their entire roster.
Also, you have the flexibility of, trying to push yourself and challenge yourself in the middle of the split where, if let's say, worst case scenario, Creme punts his lead super hard because he goes a little too hard, and he's the only person on this team with the advantage. Then FPX win it. It's super awesome for FPX. Maybe top esports get memed a little bit, but at least you tried, right? And
yeah,
it's all
I really liked how they played the first 15 minutes of the game, even with some of those question marks. Like, they recognize that Creme got the solo kill. As soon as he gets the ball in his hands, they start giving him gold. They start escorting him around turrets, getting him vision so that he can have this gold lead. And then TS just feel like in the mid game, they don't know exactly how they want to find fights. Chris taking a little bit too much damage. And they obviously won this game, or a little bit harder on them. But I'm looking at this from FPX. I'm glad that they showed a fight, and they're still showing that they're a roster that, despite the names on paper, despite the expectations from Split 1, they are still kind of a team that is slowly gaining respect and taking games potentially off of top teams.
Yeah, and the cool thing is that because expectations are so low for them, especially when we saw how they first got into this position in the first place, you can play with reckless abandon. You can play super scrappy, and clearly it's catching all the top teams off guard because they're not expecting this FPX roster to be able to throw hands super early on. I mean, this is the now second time where Assume and Jwei are playing against a bot lane that is much more notable on paper than they are, and yet they're the ones getting the advantage and being able to either by themselves create that advantage or at least sync up with Shadow to accelerate that advantage. Obviously, they don't get to accelerate it as hard as they would have liked because they watched the fight in the jungle on top side, but it's still FPX members individually, not just Jwei, not just Sheer, not just Shadow. Everyone is slowly leveling up and no longer being like bottom in the role. They're now respectful.
The thing that we talked about from the pre-show, though, was this mid lane matchup. And Care, unfortunately, it is a counter matchup like we're talking about from Draft, but he had moments in this game where he kind of sold it down the river for FPX. He's not having the same impact as Creme, obviously, but we still have to question some of FPX and Care's decision-making. When it comes down to it, mid is one of the most important roles in terms of being able to help your team get across the finish line, and so performances like this are reminding us a little bit more of Care from recent years. I mean, historically, Care has never been like a top-of-the-table mid, maybe middle of the pack in some of those FPX splits early on, but he is the franchise player. He has the most tenure on this roster and should be playing like a leader and playing like he is trying to drive his team across the finish line.
Yeah, and consistency-wise, it's not necessarily been, the bar being met for FPX's wants and desires, but at least they've, the recent pieces they brought in for this roster have been stepping up even when we don't expect it to, and which is why FPX are able to get some of these surprise wins, and at least for a moment in this game, it looked like they were legitimately about to take a game off of top esports. We'll see how they can try again in the second go about as we get ready for our second game. Still awaiting to see what the MVP of the game is. I mean, on one hand, you would say Creme because he had the most gold on the team, but then again, yeah. I mean, like, I kind of agree.
Yeah.
If Creme is given all that gold and he doesn't even, like, just fully stomp and allow Top Esports to take, like, a 25 or less minute game win, it's because of 369 remaining consistent and reliable, even when Sheer was getting a lot of gold in these fights, to still pull off massive equalizers for the squad.
He had a winning part of the 1v1. He was up in CS early on versus the Gwen, which is good to see, and I'm glad that 369 is playing more consistently. I think he has to be the rock for the squad if they want any chance of being able to find success in this split. So good job from him. I'm glad we're seeing more 6s and 9s out of one of the most legendary top laners in the league.
That's right. And before we get ready for game 2, we want to remind everyone at home that we're extremely grateful to our Ko-fi and YouTube subscribers who help level up the show. A lot of the initial payments go into upgrading the broadcast, but a huge bulk of it pays on-air talent and content creators. Subscribe to our Ko-fi, linked in the chat below, to unlock perks like early access to content and the ability to ask interview questions for our unique on-site interviews. By the way, this fancy graphic package, that's thanks to y'all supporting the broadcast. We didn't have this in Split 1, baby. We got a massive upgrade, and, you know, it's thanks to viewers like you. Even if it's not subscriptions, you know, the spreading the word, it all means so much, all the way down to the bottom of our hearts. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, it's game 2 for the first series. Stay tuned.